Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode, the second episode of 2024's SuperCoach season. I mean, it's not really SuperCoach season, hasn't started yet, but it is 2024, and it's the second episode that I'm releasing this year. I want to do this more often. I want to make more podcasts, more videos, so please make sure to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube or on TikTok. Give us a follow. Same thing for Instagram. Same thing for Twitter, Facebook, and I think I'm going to put this on Spotify as well later on. So, however you're consuming this, please make sure to follow us because I'm going to go down who I believe are the top 16, the 16 most relevant mid-price players. And you're gonna want to know. You're gonna want to know and I'm gonna tell you why. Who I believe are the best 16 options for your SuperCoach season. Now, I'm not going to talk about Brody Grundy. I'm just not going to talk about Brody Grundy because we all know who Brody Grundy is. So this list of 16 players will not include Brody Grundy and it will not include Zach Williams because we already know who those guys are. Let's just pretend it's a top 18 and those two are the top two, okay? They're just 1 and 2. You just need to have those guys in your team. That's it. Obviously, keep an eye on Zach Williams because he is currently injured. He's still another, I think, 3 weeks away as I speak right now from joining the main group, which means he probably will miss practice matches. So just keep an eye out on him. Obviously, don't pick him if he's not playing round... I wouldn't pick him if he's not playing round 0. It's not a big deal because it just means that those scores don't matter anyway. So if he's playing round 1... you're okay, so you could still pick him for round 1. So just keep an eye out on him. But this guy can seriously score. He's averaged 119 points in the past. That was 29... I think it was 109... I said I wasn't going to talk about him, and I'm talking about him. It was 2019, and he averaged 101.6 in 2019. Like, we know what he can do. That's what he can do, okay? But that's what he can do when he's playing off half-back, and he was at GWS. Now he's at Carlton, and he has been playing a wing role, so he probably won't do that, but let's be real, he's going to make you cash regardless, so just lock him in. Brody Grundy's Sydney's best ruckman. Do I need to explain more? In 2018, he was the best scoring SuperCoach player in the entire league. I think he averaged 130 or something stupid like that. This guy's pissed off from last year. Didn't get a good run at Melbourne. It was a waste of time for everybody. And I personally couldn't understand it. But now he's raring to go. He's been reunited with Taylor Adams. He's ready. Sydney are a good team. And he is going to be threading it. He's just going to be passing it to them, to these elite midfielders. Guys like Taylor Adams, who I mentioned, James Jordan, who actually looks pretty good. Then they've got, Heaney, Mills when he's back, Parker. They've got such an elite midfield, and he's just going to be just shoveling it into their hands, and it's going to be fantastic for SuperCoach. So just pick him as well. Now, as I said, we're not going to talk about them, so I'm going to go through who I believe are the 16 other players that you need to keep an eye out for your SuperCoach team. Number 1, Trent Rivers. So Trent Rivers is an interesting one, and the reason I mention Trent Rivers... Where is Rivers? Oh my god, Trent Rivers is the other guy, isn't he? Where is he? Why is he not? Oh, because I'm looking at forwards. Stupid. That's why. I just need to get out of this. Hang on. Give me a sec. I just gotta take a look. Players. Alright. So we're going to look for Rivers. Alright. So Trent Rivers is $474,000. He's a Melbourne player. He's listed as a defender. Now, his scoring in the past has been okay. He averaged 84 last year. It's not bad. In 22, he averaged 58. Not great. 21, he averaged 66. Meh. And 2020, he averaged 65. Why am I talking about a guy whose best season is 84.8? Well, that's because Trent Rivers is playing, according to the match simulations that we have been seeing come out of Melbourne over the preseason, he's been playing a midfield role off the wing and also some CBA attendances. And he's been looking pretty good from all accounts. From some of those games, he was more than best on ground. Well, maybe second best. Petrarca was a little bit better. So at the moment, Trent Rivers has got a really, really lucrative role in a really good side. a side that has been top four for at least the last 4 years, and he's just going to be shot into that midfield. This guy has not been playing a lot of footy. This is his fifth AFL season. How many games has Trent Rivers played? Trent Rivers has played. That's Fremantle, not what I wanted at all. That's not it. He was the 32nd pick in 2019, so that doesn't tell me too much. He is a premiership player. He has played, according to this, 76 games. So he's getting pretty close to the 100-game mark. He's 22 years of age. This is the year that players tend to break out. And as I said, he's at that age. However, I just want to be a little cautious around this one before I really consider picking him, because I really am considering picking him. I think that he'd be a great POD. He would not have a high ownership. He just does not have a high ownership at all. And I just think that he's got the ability to really take his footy to the next level and maybe push that 100 average between 95 to 100. That'd be amazing. And he's got that ability if given the right role, and it looks like he's got it. But Clayton Oliver was not playing in those practice matches, and he's only just joined the main group. So keep an eye out on him. I still think he's relevant if he's got that position, but keep an eye on Clayton Oliver's movements, because it could push Trent Rivers back to the back line, and then suddenly he's not an option anymore. I'm probably still going to pick Trent Rivers as a late draft pick, though, in my draft league. The other one I want to talk about is Ollie Wines. Now, this is the Brownlow medalist from 2021? 22? No, 21. He was the Brownlow medalist in 2021. He's 463k. Okay, last year only averaged 83, but he had some really weird games. He had a really good game against Melbourne. I watched that game. He scored 110. He had 134 against the Cats, and he had another 110 and 111. So he can score pretty well. But last year he just had some shitty games, and it was because he had a niggling knee injury. It wasn't enough to keep him away from the field, but it was enough for him to not get the best out of his body, and as a result, he was pushed onto a wing, and that's typically not a great SuperCoach role. So his scoring dropped off. I mean, we kind of saw that, and we knew that. I mean, anyone that owned him, I feel sorry for you. But we got to look at his past. 2022, he averaged 105.5. 2021, this is the year he won the Brownlee, he averaged 112. Okay, 2020, 104. 2019, 88. Not great. But remember, this is before he really started to peak. I think it was 2018 he had a really good year too. Either way, his average throughout his career has been in the late 90s, and then he's pushed into the hundreds for about 4 years in a row. And then he had that really bad year last year. From all accounts over the preseason, he's been back in the centre, and he's looking fit. And he's looking good. I know that Rosie hasn't been playing a lot of these match simulations yet. So that's why he's on my watch list and not in my team, because Rosie hasn't been playing a lot of the match simulations. I don't think he's missed most of them. So as soon as Rosie's back, is Wines going to be pushed back onto the wing? I don't know. But we know that Wines plays his best football in the centre, and Port Adelaide are seriously good when their Brownlow medalist is playing in the centre. And this could affect the output of both Rosie and Butters, possibly. But let's be real, those three should basically be getting all of the CBAs moving forward. And it should bump Wines' average back to the late 90s, potentially into the hundreds again. And considering what's he currently sitting at? His projected score is 82. So he's priced at 83 at the moment. If he bumps his average up to a flat 100, you're going to make cash. And you're going to score well on the field. So you're getting a Brownlow medalist for cheap. Honestly, I think this is a guy that you need to keep an eye out on. And Port Adelaide are probably going to win more games than they lose this year. The other one I want to talk about is Flanders. Now, Flanders he's close to a premium, okay? He's close to a premium. And I believe that anyone that is below 500k is a mid-pricer, and he just makes the list. Sam Flanders is one of those guys who I think can be truly elite. Truly elite. Just look at that projection when he started playing in the midfield. It's just fantastic. He had some really bad games at the start of the year when he was playing as the forward. We just know that it's just not his role. And then Stuart Dew was sacked. Stephen King comes in, and then he starts averaging over 100. He scored, listen to this, from round 15 onwards, he scored 100, 119, 96, 125, 113, 85, 91, 81, 130, and 121 to finish off the year. Gold Coast previously did not share their CBAs amongst a large group of players. They only really had Miller, Anderson, and Rowell, who they took majority of the CBA attendances, and it was quite stressful for the three midfielders. Tuke Miller has been talking about how relieved he and some of the other midfielders have been feeling sharing the workload now with a new coach in Damien Hardwick. Damien Hardwick doesn't tag, and he likes to share CBA attendances between a lot of his talented midfielders. Flanders is a midfielder, and I have a feeling that he's going to be one of those guys that continues to play in the midfield. And if he does, he could be just as good as a Jack McRae in the forward line. But he's 50k cheaper, 60k cheaper. I honestly think this is a guy that you can't pass up. He's got DDP. He could really push that to 100 mark. And if his average is around 100, he's a keeper for the year. Gold Coast, yes, they do have the early season bye, but I'm trying not to have too many players from the round 0 round. And that's another reason Rivers, for example, earlier is a player that I'm considering, but maybe I'll just wait and see how it goes, because the round 0 bye is annoying, but it's not like, if you don't have too many players from round 0, you should be okay. I just think Flanders there's just too much value there. He's an elite player. He hasn't played too much footy. He's also entering his 5th season. Sam Flanders, how many games has he played? It's not many. He hasn't played many games. He's 22 as well. He's only played 40 AFL games. He's just not had a lot of games. He's draft pick number 11. The kid's got talent. And I'm backing him as long as he's not injured. Now, the other one I want to talk about is Karl Amon. Now, Karl Amon is someone I'm not 100% sold on. And I don't know. He's just, at the moment, a lot of people are talking about him, but I think there's someone else that's looking a lot better than Karl Amon. Now, Amon has been on AFL lists now, going on to his 11th season. Typically, he's gone from Port Adelaide, he's moved on to Hawthorn, he's a damaging winger, he's 86.5 average. He's great for draft. He'll actually do okay for draft. But, I don't know, he's 92, 93, 77, yeah. His averages in the past, they've been okay. He's been around the late 80s, early 90s, okay? So he can play. He's priced at 483k, he's got a break even of 86, so he's priced in at around that price mark, okay? He's listed as a midfielder, but Karl Amon he's apparently got a completely different role at Hawthorn, and he's running off half back. That is pretty lucrative. Now that he's running off half back, he could potentially get DDP, and if that does go up, it could boost his average. We know that a halfback role is usually a good SuperCoach role, and he's taking kickouts. He's got the role from what it looks like, okay? And with kickouts and interceptive disposals, and his running ability is just amazing. So the Hawks want the footy in his hands. They're going to be passing it to him, and he's going to go for a run. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. But I'm just not 100% sold. And the reason being is because the Hawks do have some injury concerns. Now, I just can't remember his name for the life of me. I don't know why I can't remember his name. I had him last year. I don't know why can't I remember his name. What's his name? My God. Will Day. Will Day is the type of player that... there's injuries through Will Day. I mean, he plays a lot of midfield as well. They've just gotten a defensive injury in blank. I just don't know how they're going to look. I just want to... Remember, this is Hawthorn versus Hawthorn. Okay? This is Hawthorn versus Hawthorn that we've seen match simulations for. We haven't seen Hawthorn take on another team. I want to see how they line up when they take on another team in the practice matches, and then from there we should know if Karl Amon's position is kind of locked in at half-back, and if it is, well, it's pretty tempting to pick him. Now, the next player, I think number 5, is Nick Martin. Same sort of deal. Same sort of deal as Amon, except I just think there's a little bit more potential, and I'll tell you why. Martin is a kid that has not played a lot of footy himself. Nick Martin, let's take a look. How old is Nick Martin? He's not, I think he's only, 21, 20? Nick Martin, he's 22. Wow, he's 22 years of age, Nick Martin. And he's played, he looked like he was pretty much set in stone for All Australian last year off the wing, about halfway through the year. And he dropped off towards the end of the season. He's only played 44 games. But he has been fantastic since he's gotten to the club. Like, genuinely a fantastic player since he's gotten to the club. Nick Martin. Now, he averaged 88.2 last year, but we've seen this ceiling, this amazing ceiling, 139 against the Blues, right? Look at this 4-week period, right? From around 11 to around 15, because there was a bye there. 120 against West Coast, 129 over North, 139 against the Blues, and 124 over Fremantle. Then he went 79 over Port Adelaide, and then 127 against Adelaide. He had another 137 game against North Melbourne later in the year as well, and 127 earlier in the year over Geelong. Nick Martin is the type of guy that has that ceiling. He's relatively similar price to Amon, but he's got the same sort of position apparently. He's been taking kick-ins, he's been running off half-back, but he's been looking incredible as he's been doing it. He's younger, it just looks like this is going to be his year. And at the moment, he's in my team. At the moment, I'm picking Nick Martin ahead of Amon. And it's purely because I just think that Amon could go back to that wing role very quickly. While Martin, I don't know, they've just brought in Dersma from Port Adelaide, who looks good and probably will get that wing role now. And Nick Martin running off half back, it's just, he's got competition, don't get me wrong. We know that, Ridley gets used in that back line. They've got Redmond as well. There's players that play in that back line. Cox, there's a lot of guys that have that role. But Nick Martin could potentially all he's got to do is be better than them. He's just got to be the better option. And then who cares about those other players because he's the better option. So he'll just get the game. Nick Hines, the other one that I was thinking of. So, I don't know. He's been looking incredible over these practice matches. One of their best players on ground, along with Parrish. I just think that if he's got this role locked in, he's the player that you need to have in your team. Now, again, here's a look. Keep an eye out on him. Because it's, again, Essendon versus Essendon. So they've got 22 players on 22 players. So there'll be players playing out of position because they need to field two teams. I want to see what his role is like when he's playing against another opponent. And if his role is the same playing against another opponent, pick him because he's going to go bigger and better. He's got, at the moment, a break-even of 88. And if he pushes his average to 100 at a minimum, he's going to make you money. And he could still be a top 8 defender when he gets that DDP status. So, for me, I'm picking Martin ahead of Amon. Actually, which one's cheaper? Martin's $492. Amon is $483. Okay, so I suppose Amon's got 9K. Amon is 9K better. I just think Martin's just a better option moving forward. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is an opinion. We'll see. Now, the next one's Nat Fyfe. Fyfe is an interesting one. We all know who Nat Fyfe is. He's a dual Brownlow medalist. Do I need to say more? He's got DDP status. He's starting at 283K, which is ridiculously cheap. He's got, what's his break? His break-even's 51. 51. This is a guy who averaged over 100 points. When did he start? Far out, from his second season onwards. My God. From his first season, he averaged 72. If he averages 72, which he did as an 18-year-old, he makes you cash. Okay? Also, from 2011, he averaged 108, and I'm pretty sure it was up until 2021. So from 2011 all the way to 2021, so 10 seasons in a row, he averaged well over 100 SuperCoach points. His last couple of years have been just destroyed by injury. We've seen, and then there was also the positional change where he's been playing in the forward line, and it just didn't work. From all accounts, he's fit. He's firing. He's killing preseason, which I know we did here last year. But still, he's killing preseason. But the difference between last year and this year is he's got his midfield role back. He does not have a forward role. So if anything, he's cheaper this time round. He's got DDP status. And he's got a better role. For now, he's in my team. He might get injured. But he might not. Might not. Might go average 80. Might go average 90. Might average 100. And then you'd be kicking yourself that you're buying him at 500k opposed to 283k. He gets injured, who cares? He gets injured, who gives a shit? Just pick up a rookie. Just pick up a rookie on the bubble. Bank the cash. You're fine. It doesn't matter because the potential of huge scores outweigh in my opinion, the reward completely outweighs the risk, in my opinion. And I just think that he's just got so much ability. He's got the ability to score massive, and you'd rather have those massive scores in your side than outside of your side. Honestly, if he goes out there, he scores 200s, scores 2 tons, and then he gets injured, he scores a 50. Okay? He's still going to have an average that is well above his break even, and he's going to make you cash. And you still get to bank in those 200 plus scores in your first 2 rounds. He doesn't play round 0. He has the best buy in the mid-year as well. If he makes it to mid-year buys without getting any injuries, my God, you've nailed it. You've nailed this pick. He's only 70k more expensive than the first round draft pick. This is a dual Brownlow medalist. I don't think I need to talk about this anymore. Oop, what have I done? I've knocked something. Anyway, James Jordan is the next player I want to talk about, the former Demon. Now, Jordan is Whoa, my keyboard has shit itself. What has happened? For those listening, what is going on? What is happening? My keyboard's just died. Okay, I'm just going to punch it. There we go. It seems to be working now. 275k midfielder forward. James Jordan, former Demon, was a cash cow a couple of years back when he was at the Dons. I'm just going to take a look and see. He is a premiership player now. He's only played this is his 6th AFL season. I don't think James. Why is my keyboard frying? James Jordan, Aussie Rules footballer. Let's take a look. How expensive is he? He's a premiership player. We knew that. He is... Why can't I see it? He's 23 years of age. He's played 65 AFL games. And a lot of those games, I want to just mention, were from a position where he's been used, either played out of position or he's been subbed off. Look at what he can do. Like, go back to 2021 when he was a cash cow. He had some pretty decent scores. At one point, he was ranked 369, 404 was his highest. We can see him average around those late 80 marks. And I just want to see I think he had a really good game last. No, he didn't have a good game last year. It was the year before. 2022, I think it was. Yeah, he had a really good game. 100. Yeah, so he showed in 22 that he could score over 100 in games. Wow, he got his highest ever price tag was 489k, and that was in 2022, late 2022, and he's 200k cheaper, or 214k cheaper than that at the moment. So he can make you a lot of cash while scoring decent scores. At the moment, he's got a break even of 49. He's getting CBA time at the moment, according to the match simulation reports. But again, he's one of those players I want to keep an eye out on. And the reason being is because Sydney have a lot of midfielders. Now, Heaney is going to be playing midfield forward, so that's all right. Parker will get that midfield forward role again as well. We know that Horse likes to do that with his midfielders. They rotate regularly through the forward line. So if James Jordan does get that midfield forward sort of role, it means that his scoring, it should still be better than what his break even is. So he should still make you money, but it means that instead of averaging 90 late 80s, early 90s. He's probably going to go late 70s, maybe early 80s if you're lucky. Which is still okay to start the season off with, and then you could trade him away after he's made 100k in cash. But I don't know. There's a bit of risk there. I personally think that Fife is the better pick. They're roughly the same sort of player. And the other reason I think Fife's the better pick is because Sydney have a better midfield than Fremantle. I mean, Fremantle, yes, they do have, Sarong, and they've got Brayshaw, and they've got O'Meara. They do have a midfield that's pretty decent, okay? But the Swans have a much better midfield. And when Callum Mills comes back, for example, it's going to make those CBA attendances, it's probably going to reduce for someone like James Jordan. And Taylor Adams as well. I forgot about Taylor Adams. Goulden, he's going to be getting a lot of wing time, but he's probably going to get some CBA time too. So where does James Jordan fit in that midfield group? And I'm worried that he might get a half forward role, and then his scoring's terrible, and you don't want to pick him. You don't want to pick him at 275k at a half forward role. He'll make you some money, but it won't be a great deal. It won't be worth you picking him. He's also going to have the round 0 bye. So for me, I just think Fife is the better option. Yeah, the potential's there. The potential's definitely there, especially while Mills is out. The potential's there. But just keep an eye on what happens during the practice match when he's not playing Sydney versus Sydney. And if he's got CBA attendances, the majority of them, and Parker and Heaney are playing off in the forward line, for example, and Goulden's in the wing, maybe he's the better option. But for now, I'm going Fife. Next one's Harms. Now, this is an interesting one as well. Harms what is going on? Harms at the Bulldogs. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Harms, so I think my internet's just killing me here. Harms. James Harms. Now, he's also got midfield forward status. Now, again, he's got a break-even of 46, 258k, so he's the cheaper of the three players that I mentioned. And I'm going to be honest, I'm probably only going to start one of those three players, either Fife, Jordan, or Harms. Here's the cheapest. He is the cheapest, and he's got the lowest break-even. But he's also shit when it comes to his scoring when he plays on that wing. I just want to show you last year. 65, 38, 13, 40. He did score a 78 and 14. Oh my God, this is terrible. I don't, there's a lot of talk about him. I'm not sold. I'm personally not sold. His average in 2022 was a lot better, but it wasn't at the Dogs. Was he playing at Melbourne at the time? Yeah, he was playing at Melbourne at the time. And then 2021, 87, 2020, 64, 2019, 95. Wow, that's it. Harms is 95 average, and that's tempting. That's tempting. That 2019 score is average is very tempting. 2018 is 83. Like, he can score well. He's got the history. But how old's this guy? This guy is... What's he entering? He's entering his 11th AFL season. He's around that 27, 28 mark. I don't know. He's cheap, but the Dogs have the tendency to rotate players. 1 week might be playing wing, the next week he's getting CBA, the next week he's playing in the ruck. Who knows? That's the thing that I don't like about picking Jack Macrae, for example, is I just don't know where he's going to be lining up week in, week out. 1 week he's going to score me 140, the next week he's going to score me a 40 because he played in the forward pocket. I just don't know. I just don't know where Harms is going to be sitting. He has been getting a lot of CBA time when it comes to the match simulations, which is a positive. But again, some of those match simulations, Bontempelli wasn't playing in. Some of them, Jack Macrae wasn't playing in when Bontempelli came back because Macrae had got injured through his hamstring. So it means that they haven't had a full unit. And again, Dogs versus Dogs, they need to fill the ranks. Is he going to get a lot of CBA time? If he does get a lot of CBA time in the practice matches where it's not the Dogs versus Dogs, in the official practice matches later on, then maybe consider him. He is the cheaper of the three. I think he's got the job security. They did bring him to the Dogs for a reason, but last year's scoring has scared me because he was playing a wing role when he was playing. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Harms. Personally, I still think Fife is the better option. Personally, because I think his position is more secured, but then he's got the injury issues, which James Harms has as well, by the way. Harms' injury issues were pretty bad last year, so keep an eye out on him. He's definitely on my watch list, but he's not sold for me. He's not in my team currently, but he's on my watch list, and he's on a lot of teams' watch lists. Jack Billings. Now, this is a guy that is also like, I think the other three are probably better options, only because I believe they're a little bit... No, he's cheaper. Wow, Jack Billings, 243k. Break even of 44, which is pretty low. He's also entering his 11th season. His first ever season, he averaged a 61, so he's going to make you money. He's really going to make you money. I just want to point out that in 2022, he averaged 73. Okay, so he's going to make you money. In 2021, he averaged 82. 2020 he averaged 95, 2019 he averaged 93, 2018 he averaged 80, and 2017 he averaged 92. This is the kind of footy that Jack Billings can have in the right role. Now, Melbourne lost Harms the year before from the wing. I don't think they've got a winger locked in. I think Billings basically comes into that wing half-forward role, and he could score well. He's this cheap because he was playing as a forward last year, which is weird. He only played 3 games, and they were as a forward, and he's not a forward. He's just not. He scored 77 against Melbourne, funnily enough. It was probably the game that he impressed with. That's why they picked him up. And then after that, he dropped off. But again, he was playing out of position. We know this guy can average 90. He can average 90 from a wing. He can do it. He's done it in the past. He's 28. He's getting to that age where he is going to be peaking. This is the peak age. He's getting there. And if he goes anywhere near 80s and 90s again, he's gonna make you double this amount of money. He can get into the mid 400k mark, and then you trade him off. Mid to late 400k mark, then you trade him off. That's fine. He goes out there and averages 95 or 92 or 90 or an 88. He can potentially make you close to $250,000. Which is brilliant. That is fantastic. Jack Billings is someone that he was in my side. He was one of the ones that was floating in my team for quite some time. He was one of the players that I picked up during Team Picker. He's out of my team currently. And it's purely because I have too many Melbourne players. He's one of those guys. Look, I want to pick him. I really want to pick him. I think that his scoring will be very consistent. He doesn't have as bad of an injury history as Fife. He's got better job security, in my opinion, than James Jordan, and he's roughly the same sort of player as a Harms. But again, the Bulldogs like to rotate their players a lot. When you've got players like Treloar, Liberatore, you've got that new player. Who's that new player? I forgot his name. Sanders, who's come in, who looks very good. You've got Bontempelli. You've got McRae. There's a lot of midfielders there. Billings, yes, he's got to compete against a lot of mids, but I just feel like the Dogs have more mids than Melbourne, and I think that Billings' job security is just that little bit better. I'm very tempted to pick Jack Billings, and he should be on most people's watch lists this season. He could make 200 to 250k. Now, the other guy I want to talk about is Jacob Hopper. Now, I know a lot of people are scared from Hopper last year. Everyone had him, and he was terrible. But he didn't have a great season. He got injured. He didn't play great. We know what he could do when he is running. He had a couple of decent scores last year as well. We know what he can do when he is up and running. And from all reports during the match simulations, he's been looking good. He's got a break even of 79. This is a risky one. And I personally think that both Amon and Martin are better options than him because of the potential of DDP down the track. They've got better positions, I think, but Jacob Hopper getting CBAs. We don't know how Richmond's going to look as well. They've got a new coach. Will Taranto get majority of the CBAs? Dustin Martin's getting a lot of midfield time again. We got Thompson Dow, who's getting a lot of midfield time during the practice matches. How is Hopper going to fit in all of this? I don't know. Under the right circumstances, he could score very well. We know I think it was 2019, he averaged 95. 2020, he averaged 90. 2021, he averaged 97. This guy was borderline All-Australian in 2021. He got an All-Australian nomination. He's played in a grand final. He's come third in, top 3 in GWS's best and fairest on 2 occasions. This guy can play. He seriously can play. And what's he entering now? He's 8th AFL season. He's 26, turning 27, I believe. He can go up 100k very easily. He can make you 100k very easily and average you 90 and do in the 90s and do very well for you. So don't write him off. Definitely don't write him off. At the moment, Amon and Martin are just that little bit ahead of him, but as a POD, it's not bad. It's not bad as a POD. I think he's in 2% of teams at the moment, which is interesting. It actually surprises me. Now, Will Brodie. And Will Brodie makes the list very late. And he's not in my team. He's not in my calculations. But a lot of people have been talking about Will Brodie again on Twitter. And I just want to talk about him again because when he is fit and firing, he scores very well. But as discussed with Fremantle earlier, when it came to Nat Fyfe, he does have to beat now Fyfe. He has to beat Brayshaw. He has to beat Sarong. He has to beat Amira. And he's got to beat someone like Johnson, for example. Does he do that? I don't know. His 2022 season speaks for itself. We know what he could do in 2022. He averaged 102.4 in the correct role. And he was brilliant. We know what he could do. He's got the ceiling. He scores well. He scored, 144 over the Pies that year. He's got the ability. He's 318k and he's a midfielder. He only played 5 games last year. Not great. Not great. He's also got a break even of 57 though. So given a role, he could make you a lot of cash very quickly. But we need to see how Fremantle's midfield line up. Amira does have injury history. So maybe he doesn't play a lot of games this year. We know that Fyfe has injury history. So potentially, let's say the Fyfe endeavour doesn't work out and he gets injured, then, maybe it's Will Brodie that gets that position. From all accounts, Will Brodie is fit and firing. I saw an interview with him earlier in the week where he feels good. He feels much better than last year. He had a couple of niggles last year. He just wasn't 100% fit like he was the year before. He's looking fit. He's excited. He's eager. He's keen to get back into the team. And his match simulation games have been impressive, but keep an eye out on him. I personally don't like the pick. The potential is definitely there. If it comes to your draft and he's late in the draft, just pick him, give it a go. Just give it a crack. But I don't know. I wouldn't be considering him for Classic. Zach Fisher. Now, Zach Fisher is a North Melbourne boy now. He's got some injuries, so keep an eye on him. But he has been given the all clear to be playing in the practice match in a couple of weeks, which is good. That's a good sign. The only thing is, I feel like there's just so many halfbacks at North Melbourne. Sheasel apparently has been getting a lot more midfield time, but yeah, he won a best and fairest at halfback and a rising star. You got Colby McKercher, who's come in, looks like he's going to be a star off halfback, and that was a little unexpected. Zach Fisher can score well at halfback. Now, we know given that role, he scored 126 against St Kilda. He's got the ability to play well. But I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love this pick. I don't love this pick at all. No, I really don't. There's been a lot of talk about him, but I just don't love the pick. I just think there's just too many. He's got a break even of 68. He's priced at 378k. It's an awkward starting price. I mean, if he's given the Jack Zeeble role, awesome, I suppose. He could bump that average to the late 80s, early 90s, maybe even 100, but he's got injury history. He's never really shown consistency in that position as well. I know that he gets played a lot out of position when he was at the Blues, but playing off the wing, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on him. He has actually not been in my team at all at any point in time. I just don't know how North are going to line up because he hasn't played enough practice matches for me to see him. From all reports, they want Colby Colby McKercher, I think his name is, to have most of the football. So does Zach Fisher suddenly not end up playing the position that we thought he was originally going to play? Keep an eye out on his role over the summer. If he does return during the official practice matches and he's got that half-back role and he's taking kick-outs and he's looking good, like Jack Zeeble last year, well, maybe I'll reconsider him. But at 378k, it's an extra 100k than 5. It's almost 150k more than someone like Billings. And I just think that I don't see there being a massive difference between Billings and Fisher in terms of output, and you're saving 150k. So for me, Billings is the better option right now. The next one's Tom Lynch. Now, I know Tom Lynch has an injury history, and he's currently coming off a season where he only played 6 games or something like that. But this guy is only priced at 287k. In 2023, he started the season at 519k. That's what he started the season at. In 2022, he started the season priced at 381, and he went all the way up to 576. He went on an absolute tear. He was almost all Australian. He had a couple of injuries throughout the season. He won a Richmond Best and Fairest. He also, at the time, was leading the Coleman, but he had a couple of injuries, as I said. And I just want to point out that he scored a 3 in round 17, and he still finished the year as priced at 527k. Okay? He should have been priced a lot more than that. Now, he's the type of guy that can score very well. Now, he's at the wrong end of 30. He's played a lot of footy. We know what this guy can do. But his break-even's 51. This is the kind of guy that can average in the 90s. He's Richmond's main full forward. Okay? He's missing round 0, which is concerning. He's not going to make round 0 because he's still injured. He's not going to make round 0. He's not going to play practice matches. Okay? That part's concerning, but it means that he might get a game in round 1 against the Blues. It also means that his price change is not going to be until... When does Richmond have their bye? AFL.com.au. When does Richmond have their first bye? Fixture. Let's take a look. Obviously, it's not round 1. It's not round 2. It's not round 3. Okay. So hypothetically, if he plays round 1, his price change will be round 3. Okay. Then I'm pretty sure... No, he doesn't have a bye round 4. I think it's round 5. No, it's round 6. It's round 6 that they have a bye. So you could potentially get 1, 2, 3 price rises before his bye in round 6. And there's only 2 teams that are on bye in round 6, and that's Melbourne and Richmond. Which means, let's be honest, a lot of teams are going to have a lot of players that are not Melbourne or Richmond players. In reality, the only Melbourne and Richmond players that we're really considering are players like Short, Lynch, guys that, they're the ones that have a lot of ownership at the moment. Petrarca at Melbourne, yeah, that's an issue. Billings, gone. There's a few players, Trent Rivers, who I mentioned at Melbourne. So yes, so it is an annoying kind of week, but it's still best 18. And by then, you might have even upgraded some of your rookies who have already played buys or are about to have buys as well. We kind of don't know how it's going to plan out, obviously, 6 weeks into the season. But Tom, I don't write him off. Keep an eye at him. Obviously, don't start him because of, he's injured, but keep an eye out on him because he could make you a bunch of cash very fast. You wait till his bubble. Wait till his first 2 scores in round 1 and 2, or potentially 2 and 3. He scores, 80-something, 90-something. He has a spike game, scores 5. Say he kicks 5 goals, right? Kicks over 100. He's going to make you a shitload of cash, and then you just pick him right out of his bubble. So keep an eye out on Tom Lynch because he could still make you a lot of money. Now, Wardlaw is someone that's been getting a lot of attention over the summer. Now, Wardlaw is priced at... What is he priced at? 365k. at North Melbourne. He's entering his second season. Hasn't shown a huge ceiling. His best score is an 87 against Essendon, which is good. He's got, at the moment, a good role according to the practice matches. Has been one of their best players pretty much every match simulation. However, North have a very interesting young midfield, with Sheasel getting more midfield time. Lazaro has been looking good in the practice matches as well. He'll be pushing for a spot in the team. And then you've got a guy like Simpkin, who's back from an injury-plagued season. You've got LDU. You've got a decent amount of midfielders, and North aren't going to win as many games. They're just not. So, they've also got both Stevensons as well. They've actually got a pretty packed midfield. They're all roughly the same level of player, but it's a pretty packed midfield. So will Wardlaw get the role that is going to justify a 365k price tag? I don't know. I don't know if he does or not, but it's interesting. It's interesting and it's tempting, and he's definitely on my watch list, but I just feel like there's better midfield options than Wardlaw. Now, I want to also talk about, I was going to say Beau McCreary. Now, Beau McCreary is an interesting one, and this is someone that hasn't been talked about a lot in SuperCoach circles, but there was a preseason game. He's a forward. He costs 300k. There was a preseason game. He's entering his fourth AFL season, so he's around that 22-year mark. Okay, he's only averaged in the 50s. Now, this is a guy it's keep an eye on him, because from what I can see, he's had a position change. He's playing midfield. He's been getting CBAs over the practice matches, which is very, very enticing, especially at that 300k price mark. But Collingwood have a stacked team. So I don't know who falls out of that midfield brigade. It looks like Finlay McRae is going to slot in to that midfield brigade. Yes, they lost Ginnivan and they lost Taylor Adams, but Taylor Adams didn't play in the Premiership and Ginnivan played in the forward line. So their midfield is just as good as what it was at Grand Final day. I think Finlay McRae comes into the team. Beau McCreary, keep an eye out on him. Yeah, for all reports, keep an eye out on him, but don't I wouldn't be picking him. I don't mind the pick, though. To be honest, I don't mind the pick. Wanganeen Malira. Now, he is a player that I just want to talk about today. Wanganeen Malira. Let's take a look. Where is he? Naish Wanganeen Malira. He's entering his third AFL season. Last year, he averaged 85.1. He's a very talented player. I believe he's 21 years of age. We're moving on to 22 soon. He's shown the ceiling when given the right role. 113 over GWS, Hawthorn and Sydney were all triple digits. So 113, 100 and 119. And that's 3 games in a row. He's shown that he can do that. His finish to the year was pretty strong. After a poor 68 over West Coast in round 16, he finished the year with 110, 92, 94, 107, 85, 93, 92. And then a 72 was kind of average, but it's still pretty okay. He's currently priced at 475k, so he's got a break even of 85. So if you're backing him in, you're backing him in to push that average to late 90s to early, like between 95 and 100 is what you're kind of thinking he's going to average, which he can do. Now, Matthew Lloyd went out and watched a game, a practice match. When was it? It was earlier this week. And apparently, Wanganeen Malira absolutely destroyed it from halfback. So he is currently on my watch list. He's expensive though. So if you do pick him, it means that you likely are going to miss out on someone like Hayden Young, for example. Like, I wouldn't be picking both Wanganeen Malira and Hayden Young. I think they've both got the same rough upside and they'll probably average out roughly the same amount. So I'd be picking one or the other. Hayden Young's another midfielder, actually. He's been playing a lot of midfield, and I think that's another one that, Fremantle they just have a pretty stacked midfield. And Naish, Wanganeen, Malira off that half back line. I just think he could potentially push that average to 100. And if he does, he'll make you some money. He might even be a top 8 defender. Who knows? Keep an eye out on him. Jack Sinclair is injured at the moment and will be unavailable in the early rounds of the year. So what does that mean for Naish, Wanganeen, Malira? Well, that might mean some decent scoring for the first couple of weeks. It's the job security that does bother me. So I'm not 100% sold on that. Now, that's it. That's the top 16 players that I think are the most relevant. Now, there's a few more that I would have loved to have talked about, but I can't get through everybody. I'm just going to say Holmes is another player that... Max Holmes is another player at Geelong who didn't quite make the list. He's 446k. We know that they believe that he's the future of that midfield, but he's 23, I think, now. But I just don't see it. From more reports, he'll still be playing that wing role. So I can't see there being a lot of growth in him when it comes to the match simulations. He's playing wings, so I just don't see it. Thompson Dow, I mean... He's in my team at the moment, Thompson Dow, and I probably should mention him. So, fuck it. I'm going to add him to my... He's now a top 17. Thompson Dow is someone that I'm very keen on. He's now entering his 5th AFL season. Has not played a lot of footy under Damien Hardwick. We saw what he could do against Port Adelaide. I think he had 27 disposals against Port Adelaide in the last game of the year. I think he's a guy that could really push that average up. He's getting a lot of CBA time in the match simulations. Definitely keep an eye out on Thompson Dow. He is in my team currently and has been since team picker, and I can't see him falling out of that team. I just think that he's got the potential to make me 150, 200k very easily. He's got talent. He was Richmond's first pick 5 years ago now. He's getting close to that breakout season. The role is there. I think that he is definitely one of the most valuable midfielders currently. And for someone, I think that he's more valuable than Wardlaw because he's 100k cheaper. So that's it. Thanks, guys, for listening. Please make sure to subscribe. Follow us on all of our socials. We've YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, Facebook. We're also on Spotify now. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back same time, same place next time.